This is News 6 Tonight.
Good Friday evening, everyone. Welcome to this edition of News 6 Tonight. We made it through the week, and what a week it has been. Yeah, just last night at this time, we thought our big story was going to be all the delays at Orlando International Airport because we had up to the longest delay was 11 or 12 hours last night. Thankfully, that's all straightened out for the most part. There's still some delays,
Yeah.
but not like that.
And 24 hours, a long time in
Oh
news. So
my gosh,
there's
yeah.
a lot
A
of things
lot
that
can
have
happen.
unfolded
So
since
it
then.
turns out, okay, so I'm Ginger Gadsden. This is Mike Valenti. He's,
Yeah, we
he's in
probably
for
should
Matt
cover
tonight.
that
Yeah,
at the outset.
let's cover that first. But we are ending the week
Yeah.
right where we started it because we had the big story in Lake County, all the flooding and all the rain that happened on Sunday. And by Monday morning, Lake County, parts of it's a mess.
Yeah, we're still seeing the lingering effects. I was out there in Eustis today for a story that we started covering last night. Mark Lehman, our colleague, was out there today. You probably seen our coverage online, Click Orlando. This partial bridge collapse in the Spring Ridge Estates neighborhood. It's a gated community in Eustis. Basically, because of that record rainfall, 19.7 inches, I believe.
Like in 6
last
hours or
count
something,
from
yeah.
the fire chief, 6 hours during that long duration.
hmm
I mean, that basically compromised the structural integrity of this bridge
Yeah.
in that community. So crews started monitoring it on Monday. They thought something was wrong.
Sure.
And residents, all they could do was just hope every single day, but they said it got worse and worse until last night when part of that bridge gave out. Here's some more of my reporting from earlier today.
I got home last night from work, and we had about 15 minutes to grab everything that we owned or what we could carry and, leave.
Families returning to their homes briefly Friday morning to pick up their belongings after a partial bridge collapse prompted an evacuation about 7 p.m. Thursday night.
We just never seen anything like this.
The deterioration of this bridge comes days after record rainfall in Eustis.
Everybody's okay with getting a lot of rain, but it's the duration that really hurts you. And in this case, we received 19.7 inches of rain in the city of Eustis in a little over 4 hours.
Crews began monitoring the bridge on Monday. The only thing neighbors could do at the time was hope for the best.
Each day it's gotten worse and worse, and you see where it's at today.
The water is still flowing. As long as the water is moving, the situation will be changing. When you have that much structural damage under there, it's not safe for somebody to go under there and look.
So you heard that as long as the water keeps moving, there's growing concern that more structures and utilities could be undermined or compromised.
Yeah.
Right now, the main priority is ensuring that the rest of the bridge does not collapse because they don't want more evacuations. If the rest of that bridge collapses, there's a sewer line underneath. And
Oh gosh.
and then if the
That's
sewer line
another set of
goes,
problems.
then exactly. You
Yeah.
have to evacuate the whole neighborhood. We're talking about 21 homes right now.
Mhm.
Imagine if, we're talking 50, 60 homes, even
Yeah.
more in Spring Ridge Estates. So in the event that sewer line fails, crews are ready. They've staged equipment today. They can go in with a temporary sewer line
Yeah.
to hopefully avoid the situation where they have to force people from their homes.
What a nightmare. And these poor people, they just want to get back into their homes. Okay, so you were on the ground there. Give us an idea of the size of that bridge because it's hard for me to gauge. Like, is it like, can it handle 2 cars or is it two-way traffic?
Yeah, it's two-way traffic. It's a short bridge. I
Yeah.
mean, you drive over it
You're done.
in a second and you're done.
Yeah.
But it's still the main access point for these people to get out of their neighborhood. It's the only access point. So another thing crews were talking about was trying to think outside the box and improvise and try to find another entrance point where people can go back and forth from their homes. You saw them there. They were walking back to their homes today, getting more of their belongings, walking back because it's, the road is no longer passable. You can't drive on that bridge. The hope is that eventually they can find a different access point or repair that road. People can go home. The water can be
Yeah.
turned back on.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's an HOA community. What are
Yeah.
they doing?
So the HOA is ultimately responsible. This is a private road, but the HOA has the lead, but they're working, hand in glove with City of Eustis Fire
Yeah.
Department, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers are there. The state has representatives. So it's unclear what comes next. I mean, one of the concerns we heard from people is that the downstream implications that maybe we see, new fees being
Oh boy.
imposed
For assessment, right?
or assessment fees.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, that's not something that is, you know, the priority or on the horizon right now.
Yeah.
But it is something homeowners are thinking about.
That's crazy. And as bad as that looked right there, we had something much worse that happened in Mount Dora,
Yeah.
still Lake County.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Take a look at these images. Donnelly Road. Again, we're going back to
Oh.
this past weekend's just torrential downpour. Again, 19
Historic.
inches, record rainfall over the course of 4 to 6 hours. A lot of these roads were, affected by Hurricane Milton last year. I'm thinking about Wolf Branch Road.
Yeah.
There was damage there. They had to repair that road. They had to repair it again, or they will have to repair it after this past weekend storms. Eventually, they're going to have to do a redesign. So you see Donnelly Road there, Wolf Branch, as I mentioned, Britt Road. The construction is going on right now, but there's a lot of work ahead of them.
Yeah, they were saying it could possibly take a year or more. And the people who live there, they just want you to know, okay, downtown Mount Dora is still open. There are other access, unlike this community you were talking about in Eustis, there are other access points where you can get to downtown Mount Dora, thank goodness. But, and people might think, okay, it's closed off, but they still need your business. They want your business and they want you to come and visit. You just can't take this beautiful, it says welcome to Mount Dora.
Yeah. And we have a story online speaking to that. Emily McLeod, a community correspondent there in Lake County, talked to a business owner who was trying to get the word out. And she's
Yeah.
affected personally, after the storms,
Oh,
but also
the land
professionally.
washed away
Yeah.
under her house,
Yes,
basically,
yeah.
and she's due to have a baby almost any day now. So there's so much
And she's
going
juggling
on.
that with being a business owner. in
Yeah,
these trying
exactly.
times.
There's a lot happening, and this story is far from over. But I know you guys will continue to keep us informed. It's just been one of those stories that kept growing and growing all week. But when
Yeah.
you think about that rainfall, what are people supposed to do?
Exactly.
Okay, moving on. Another story that we're talking about. 1 year ago tonight, we had something horrific happen in downtown Orlando. It's Halloween night. We didn't even say that at the beginning of the show. For the people who are out, people like to dress up and celebrate and have a good time. And downtown Orlando is a hot happening spot on Halloween. And last year was no exception. The weather was pretty good, like it is tonight. But it is a major concern because last year, 2 people were killed, 7 other people were hurt when they had that party down in the Wall Street area. Our correspondent Jarrell Baker is down there tonight to talk about the changes that they are making to make sure that it is safe this year.
I actually was speaking with someone who was here last year during that shooting and is working tonight, and him and his co-workers were definitely worried about working tonight, but they do believe that those safety improvements that have been made since then have helped out. Now, I did reach out to the city and they sent me this statement that's up on your screen. Now, it says that the Orlando Police Department will actively monitor roadways throughout the evening and make adjustments as needed to manage anticipated crowds. Now, just this week, the families of the 2 people killed during last year's Halloween shooting filed lawsuits alleging that OPD officers and agents negligently failed to implement its policies and procedures to ensure safety in the downtown area last year. Now, after the shooting, the city made several changes, including reopening Orange Avenue and side streets to traffic during late night hours and using barricades to keep pedestrians closer to the sidewalk. Now, Abdullah Hakim, who was there during last year's shooting, says that he believes those changes will help.
We all remember what happened last year and how scary it was. A lot of my coworkers were physically right next to the shooting when it happened, so it was a little bit more traumatic for them. But we're all pretty wary. I am optimistic, and so we kind of hope for the best.
Now, the city of Orlando has also made changes requiring businesses to have a $250 after midnight alcohol sales permits. And they also said that businesses must have police and security during weekends and also major holidays, 5 major holidays, and that includes Halloween.
So, Ginger, I want to make sure the victims in last year's shooting are not lost.
Yeah,
in
of
all this,
course,
'cause
yeah.
obviously, there's a lot of moving parts, but those were Tyreek Hill
Mhm.
and Timothy Schmidt Jr. You heard Jarrell say that their families have now filed suit against the city of Orlando,
Yeah.
claiming negligence, and against Downtown Power, which is the operator of Wall Street.
Of Wall
Plaza,
Street, yeah.
all those bars there. And Timothy Schmidt Sr. told us this week when we did a Zoom interview with him that he doesn't want anyone to allow their kids to
He
go
said people
downtown.
shouldn't even go down there tonight. Yeah.
Because he doesn't believe that the city can keep people safe. You heard, the city's argument, which is, and they sent us a statement earlier this week, which is, safety is our top priority.
Top priority, yeah.
And we have officers throughout the city during these
But you saw
celebrations.
that crowd and the shooting happened right next to a police car, if you pay attention to that video, and the crowd's just screaming. I don't know how you keep that many people safe in a crowd that large. And when people start scrambling, somebody was even really badly hurt because they got trampled. It was just a chaotic scene that happened down there.
And I remember after the shooting, in the immediate aftermath, Chief Eric Smith held a
Mhm.
press conference. He said he cited the state's constitutional carry law in explaining like the different security posture that night. Also for downtown power, they said in a statement to me this week after our story that they don't know why the owner said they don't know why they're named in the lawsuit because they claim it did not
didn't happen
happen
on
on
their
their
property,
property.
yeah.
They did have a permit for Wall Street Plaza. They said it didn't extend beyond that.
Yeah, but you have to understand that these families are just trying to make sure that other families don't go through what they are going
of
through
course.
because it is still very raw and very fresh 1 year later. And when you see, we no doubt will have crowds down there tonight. And hopefully, fingers crossed, that we have nothing. But it happens, after midnight. That's where all those things, my mom used to say, nothing good happens after midnight. Just be in the house. Just be in the house. So we're just praying for everyone's safety tonight. And just hopefully everyone will be out there just having a good time, which is what Halloween is all about. Just good, safe
Yeah.
fun. All right, stay with us because when we come back, we're going to talk about a growing problem that we have seen here in Central Florida in particular. We're talking about gambling.
Mm.
It's a really big issue. We'll have more on that when we come back. Yeah, and you got the link from the show just a little while ago, I think. So make sure we have that for News 6 tonight. Hey, thanks for stopping by. We know you're busy, but news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
That's right. And this is News 6 Tonight, where we leverage this entire busy newsroom with our community correspondents, our producers, our content desk, and then we filter through that. We have a casual conversation about the news that impacts Central Florida.
Yeah, we live here in the community, and we rely on you for our neighborhood network because you're our eyes and ears as well, and we can't do it without you.
So you can watch us all over the place, YouTube, News 6 Plus app, and clickorlando.com. While you're here, feel free to engage. Let us know who you are and where you're from.
Okay, we are back. And as you said before the break, Ginger, talking about a story that we were covering extensively last week. We continue to cover it. Obviously, we saw an
my
Orlando
gosh.
connection to a story that garnered nationwide, international
Yeah.
attention. FBI Director Kash Patel and the DOJ announced this bust, two separate busts, sports gambling ring and illegal poker.
Yeah.
Well, since then, we've been talking about how people can get help if they're struggling with gambling addictions.
Because obviously it's an issue if we're talking about it this much and it's in professional sports, right?
Yeah. So our colleague Justin Wormuth, he found out, he did a story about a new way that people can get help. Here's more of that.
I'm News 6 anchor Justin Wormuth. After decades of working with the Florida Council on Compulsive Gambling in the heart of downtown Sanford, the Florida Gaming Control Commission settled on a new vendor. So as of July 1st, the state contracted Kindbridge Research Institute to run a new helpline for the next 3 years, paying them $2 million a year to do so. But for the first 4.5 months of that deal, those in need of help were consistently directed to the Florida Council on Compulsive Gambling via the Hard Rock Bet app. Their number clearly displayed 888 admit it right at the bottom of the app's sign-in page. Now, that number is even still included in advertisements on TV. In fact, this commercial aired on News 6 just Wednesday. But by Saturday morning, there was a change. A new number, 833 Playwise, started to appear. So we did some digging on this, and on Playwise's website, it says the organization is partnered with the Florida Gaming Control Commission and Kindbridge Research Institute. Here's a look at that. What's not clear, though, is what specifically that partnership is. Again, the state is not paying Kindbridge, not Playwise.
So still lots of questions on that story. Gambling addiction is a crippling addiction, and obviously, if you're
gosh.
struggling with that at home, you should watch that report and
And
you
and
should do
call
your
and
research.
there we
Yeah.
put all the resources on connected to Justin's story, but it is just frightening that you can carry your phone around and you can make all kinds of bets now and get into all sorts of problems. And for people who have that kind of personality, that is dangerous.
Yeah.
It is, and it seriously, it is a big problem, and we're starting to see more and more of that, and a lot of it, especially connected to sports, because that is
Yeah,
where it's at right
and
now.
there are these companies that have now partnered with professional sports leagues. I mean, obviously, going back to the Terry Rozier arrest, the
Oh my
IAC
gosh. Yeah,
guard
yeah, yeah,
who's
yeah.
embroiled in all this. I mean, he was using these betting apps, or allegedly, throwing
Oh my,
games,
it
and people
that's
would
a
bet the
we don't
under
even
in a
have enough
performance.
time
Yeah,
to
yeah,
cover
yeah,
that
yeah.
story because we've done that
I
earlier. But it's
digress.
no, it's
Yeah,
it's just so much to take in. But we're just trying to get people. If you need help, just
yeah.
call the number that's in Justin's story, because it really is a big problem and a growing problem, and it's damaging a lot of families. All right, another story that is hurting some families. We found out we have a system where people will send us emails, and we're checking it all the time. And this company emailed us. They're like, we are about to lose some very important funding,
Mm.
and it's horse therapy. They say that kids who take these programs who are nonverbal, sometimes they perk up, and it may not happen the first couple of times, but it happens over time, and it is so healing and helpful. The horses are the therapist as opposed to the people, right? And kids have this special connection. Well, this program in Florida is losing, and a lot of them are losing funding. And they got a letter, a mysterious letter or a sudden letter saying that this funding can no longer happen and we can't pay you for this anymore. So the kids who are using this as therapy, they can't come unless they pay out of pocket. Here's a little bit of that story because it is really an important one, and hopefully you can help this organization.
You come to Freedom Ride, and this property, it's just pure peace.
Freedom Ride, a nonprofit established in 1998. They currently help more than 80 kids and adults struggling with disabilities. Kids like Talia.
She was nonverbal, and she was with us for about a year. One day, she was grooming the horse and petting the horse, and she actually said the word horse. Her parents absolutely lost it. And now she works at Publix, and she is a chatterbox. That came through the power of the horse.
But that power to heal has been put on hold.
About 50% of our clients utilize medical transport management for their payments. So we have officially received notice that they are no longer reimbursing Freedom Ride. This is a big deal for all expressive therapies throughout the state.
Freedom Ride is owed $11,000, and they are just one of almost 300 equine therapy programs across the state that haven't been paid since August 30th. So what's changed? In a statement to News 6, Sunshine Health says, during an internal review of MTM, which manages Sunshine Health's expressive therapy network, Sunshine Health discovered that not all expressive therapy providers meet Medicaid requirements. One of those requirements is a Medicaid ID number, so Freedom Ride applied for one, but their status is still in process.
So that question, what changed?
Yeah.
I want to hone in on that, because, what did change? What prompted this internal review where this was discovered?
That's what we're trying to find out, and we're trying to figure it out. And now it turns out that Sunshine Health announced it's ending its relationship with Medical Transport Management effective the end of this year. So something happened, and these organizations were supposed to have a Medicaid ID from the very beginning. It almost seems like someone didn't go through the right channels to make sure that this could all happen. And now someone, you get
They
an
didn't know they
audit,
needed that.
you get an audit and you're like, okay, you have to have this. And they're like, well, we never had to have this before. They've worked with that company for a dozen years. And to all of a sudden get that and have the funding just cut off, not only just cut off, but they're not getting paid for the lessons that were already given. And I don't know if you know how expensive it is to take care of horses on 20 acres is where they are right now. It's
So
crazy.
what does this mean for the future of equine therapy for all these people that
Well,
benefit from
you
it?
know, we started. Part of the bigger story is we met a veteran out there, and the VA pays for him. And there are some people who can afford to pay for it out of pocket if they can. He uses the VA. There are people who come on their own who realize how great this therapy is, so they can pay for it, or their insurance will cover it out of pocket. But for these other kids with the medical needs, they were depending on this, and now they don't have it. So, and it's not cheap.
Yep.
It's not cheap. But when you have a nonverbal child and all of a sudden they speak and they say the name of the animal
Yeah.
that's in front of them, you can't help but make that connection.
That's a stabilizing force in a lot of people's
Yeah,
lives.
that is for sure. That is for sure. So hopefully, I put the story online. So if you want to help and donate to get them through until all this stuff gets cleared up, hopefully you can help them. Just go to clickorlando.com. All right, let's talk about this forecast.
Okay.
How are you loving this weather?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
you know, I'm fairly new to Florida. I
Yes.
got here in January, so I was
Yes.
thinking Halloween in Florida would be like in the 80s, but
It usually
it
is.
kind of reminds me of growing up in the Northeast a little bit.
Oh my God.
This is
Okay,
like a
that's
warm
a
Halloween in New York.
that high praise coming from Mike Valenti over here. Let's bring in meteorologist David Desario. He is in the Weather Center. David, I don't know if it's like a New York Halloween, but you know, it's better. It's one of the chilliest Halloweens we've seen in a while.
It has actually, yeah. It's definitely a lot cooler, even in fact, since last year. Last year, ironically, we had Milton that kind of yanked all the cold air down earlier in October, and then we bounced back towards Halloween. It was still fairly warm and fairly
Mhm.
muggy out here. Night and day difference tonight, which is fantastic, honestly. I kind of wish I was doing the weather out there in costume because
Right?
this would be the
Exactly.
perfect setting for it.
David, I'm going to stop you. Half of your handsome face is cut off. Center up.
There we
There it is.
go.
There's
Wait,
that,
wait,
David.
wait. There we go. There it is. All
I thought it
right.
was going to be like a
was trying
Two-Face
to do a
costume. He
Halloween.
was going to, yeah.
That would have been epic, actually, to tell you the
Been
truth.
good,
Just be
yeah.
like, and then slide back into view with a mask on or something like that. I should have brought my mask today.
We love a
Shucks.
reveal in news. We love a reveal in news.
Surprise,
Well,
it's
speaking of a
David.
reveal, if we want to bring some graphics up for the
Oh,
Oh,
first
here we
time in a
go.
while when it comes
wow.
to the teas, we're tracking a chilly Halloween night. So for folks out there having a good time, have some extra fun for us here in the newsroom in the studio tonight. Because trust us when we say we wish we could be out there gallivanting, doing all things spooky as we round out the month of October on a very high note. Melissa is no more. Tropics are a non-issue right now, and it is chilly tonight for Halloween. And for the first couple days of November, we're looking really nice in terms of overall weather, not only because of the cooler temps, but we're
Mhm.
just not tracking anything bad in sight for the time being. And when you look at the temperature trend here, this pretty
Look at
much
that.
communicates it. We're looking at a kind of a cool down continuing to settle overhead through the weekend. Another front expected to sweep through as we go through Monday and Tuesday. A little bit of a bounce back since we know the cold air doesn't like to hang out with us here in Central Florida for too long, but overall just nothing crazy on the horizon, which I think is a reprieve for all of us in the weather team, if I do say so myself.
Well, it's certainly a different way than the week started, that's for sure, with all that rain and all that
Oh,
flooding
yeah.
that you guys
Oh,
were
yeah.
seeing. Yeah, David, going back to that first picture, where in Central Florida can I find those leaves?
You know, Ginger, I wish I could tell you. We're not quite there yet. We got the weather. We just don't have the flora, the fauna, and all that other fall jazz, unfortunately.
Well, it was
One can
beautiful.
hope.
Yeah, exactly. I want to go there
Yeah.
right now. Okay, David, we'll see you. You're doing the show at 9:30. You're filling in for Jonathan tonight, and you'll talk all things weather related. And we'll see you again at 10 o'clock.
Thanks, David.
All right, we'll be right back.
Welcome to News 6 Tonight. We are so thankful that you're joining us here wherever you found us.
Yeah, you know what this tells me? If you have made this your new streaming destination, it tells me you're smart, also good looking, because you chose to watch the news in a different way. That makes you really smart. Anybody can give you the news from a teleprompter or an old newspaper. We do it in a fresh new way.
That's right. So check us out wherever you like to stream. We have this app for your TV, News 6 Plus. You can find it on Roku and Amazon and whatever your smart TV is cooking. So thank you. We would love to hear your comments down
Oh my
below,
gosh. Yeah.
and then we'll show them.
Yeah, we will. News 6 Plus. The plus is you.
Ooh.
Okay, Ginger, looks like we're racing against the clock a little
We
bit. We're just
are.
talking about, but we do have time for one more story. I think this is a good one.
I
Gives
like
people
this story.
hope.
Yeah.
The Florida Department of Corrections held its first ever graduation today for the Jefferson Correctional Institution's electrical program. Here they are right now. Gives inmates vocational training while incarcerated, and that can translate into job skills when they leave prison. Hopefully, keep that recidivism rate down. I think we actually heard from one of the inmates there.
There's already a stigma around people who are coming out of prison. And so having a program like the electrical program here where people can actually learn skills that can be applied back into the real world, I think it makes them a little bit more desirable.
So these are real world skills that,
Yeah.
they can learn while they're still on the inside, and hopefully when they get out
Yep.
and
I mean,
everything's on the level.
and depending on how long they've been incarcerated, things have definitely changed. So when they have a skill and they can come out and they have a real job like this, and these are the skills, a lot of people, college isn't for everyone.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we have to remember. We have to have people who do all of these things, and we're so proud of them. And hopefully that, they will continue to live on the right side of the law because they have a different set of
Breaks the
circumstances.
cycle of
now.
incarceration.
That's it. Hey, thank you for joining us for News 6 tonight. Have a great weekend and happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.